We're finally back. After 2 weeks, it's finally time once again to make another predictions video. Since there was no UFC event last week, we've just been kind of in a limbo because there hasn't been any really fighting event at all. So I guess other than PFL, which I did kind of make a video about, but I was just expressing some thoughts on that video. But we're here now. We're gonna go over the Stephen Thompson versus Kevin Holland fight night in Orlando. I'm gonna be there. It's gonna be fun. Stacked card from the prelims to the main event. I'm so excited. Everybody's excited. So many interesting fights. I mean, just look at this. Thompson, Kevin Holland, Barberena, Dos Anjos, Tuivasa, Pavlovich, Nicolau Schnell, Hermanson, and Dalidze. I don't even know how to pronounce that name. But, I mean, Nico Price, Clay Guida, Michael Johnson, Darren Elkins. Bro, this card is stacked. You can make this into a pay-per-view, I'd argue. But yeah, so excited, bro. So excited. I'm leaving to go to Orlando tomorrow, so I had to get this video out as quick as I could. It's probably gonna be a long one. I'm gonna go over a lot of fights this time around. In the Derek Lewis video, I only went over like maybe 6 or 7. In this one, I'm gonna go over quite a few. So, I mean, strap in. Yes, I'm going over 13 fights right now. Gonna make my predictions. I'm gonna submit them here to Tapology to get some points. I haven't submitted any predictions for either of them yet, but I got them all right here. I'm unsure about a lot of them because a lot of these I feel like could be very close. There's a lot of them where some of the fighters I'm going for are likely to lose, but hey, it's gonna be a fun night, and whatever happens, happens. It is what it is. We're just here for the fights, and we're gonna go over the first one that I wanted to go over. Nathan Levy versus Genaro Valdez. So let's go over the guy in the blue corner first. Genaro Valdez, 10-1. He experienced his first loss after being on a 10-fight losing streak. It was against Matt Frevola. It was from ground and pound in the first round. It was on the UFC 270 card at the beginning of this year, and now he's fighting at the end of this year. So obviously, big gap in performances. No scheduled fights that ended up being canceled. This guy just was not looking for a fight really in this time period. But a loss to Matt Frevola for your this is the 10th fight because it goes differently. But a loss to Matt Frevola in your 10th fight in your debut to the UFC, it's like Matt Frevola is, I mean, he's on top right now after coming off of a incredible win this past month against Azaitar. I didn't think he was going to win that fight, but he ended up, proving me wrong, completely putting him out very badly. So a loss to Matt Frevola. I mean, Matt Frevola is good as hell. He's good at what he does. So a loss to him isn't much. The only thing that worries me really here is the gap in the middle. That's like 11 months of no fighting. I don't know what's going on there, but maybe injury, maybe his mindset wasn't in the right place. But all we know is that that's not it's not a good sign. And if we look at Nathan Levy, he's 7-1. He's 1-1 in the UFC right now. He's coming off of a win against Mike Breeden, unanimous decision from a UFC fight night. His only 2 fights in the UFC have been by decision, whether it was loss or win. They've both been decisions. So his last fight was at the end of April, right at the end of April. I think this was on the Cheeto versus let me think. Font card. The Cheeto versus Font fight night undercard. He got a win there. You look at his fights here. A lot of them are by decisions. A lot of them are from submissions. And I don't know. You look here, you see a lot of the knockouts. I mean, that's quite a few knockouts. Pretty scary there. And Nathan Levy with the decisions. So I'd probably have Renato Valdez winning, right? And my mind is saying Renato Valdez, but my heart is saying Nathan Levy. Because we've seen it before. In the Matt Frevola versus a Zaitar fight. A Zaitar. I thought, when I first saw him, I thought, wow, he's the next big thing. He's going to beat Matt Frevola. He's going to make his comeback. Because he had gone on a break, on a hiatus. For about a year, he hadn't fought at all. So I thought, okay, Zaitar is going to make his comeback. No biggie, no issue. And he's going to prove himself. He's going to climb the rankings, and he's going to be one of the top guys. And obviously that didn't happen. Matt Frevola knocked him out in the first round. And Matt Frevola being one of the, he gets a lot of wins, a lot of finishes. So Nathan Levy not being a super big finisher, it's gonna be hard for him to end up finishing Renato Valdez. So who do I think is gonna win? It's hard for me. I don't know. Because all of my friends said Nathan Levy. So with my heart over my mind, it's saying like, oh yeah, just go with the boys, say Nathan Levy. So, you know what? Even though Renato Valdez really should win this fight, and he's likely going to, let's be honest, he's likely going to. But I'm going to go with the boys. I'm going to take the risk. I'll say Levy by unanimous decision in the third round. That's my pick right now. I'll have Levy, decision, third round. Just for the fun of it. Let's see if I pull off the upset for that one. Or actually, he's the favorite right now, so I guess it's not really an upset. Maybe I'm making the right choice. Who knows? But now the next fight, Tracy Cortez versus Amanda Ribas. Number 13 versus number 15. I can't believe this is so deep into the prelims. Obviously, the prelims are so stacked that there's really nowhere else to put it. So it is what it is. But let's look at the fighters right now. Let's see. Tracy Cortez, 10-1. She's coming off of a lot of wins. Her only loss was in her, debut. My bad. Debut. It's her debut fight against Cherry Moraski. Maybe I'm saying that right. And ever since then, it's been a 10-fight winning streak. Now, my only issue with this winning streak, and especially when it comes to the UFC, look at it. Decision unanimous. Split against an unknown. Split decision. And then unanimous. Impressive win streak. But it makes you wonder, like, if Tracy Cortez is now fighting, if she were to be fighting a top level fighter, she would likely have a lot of trouble. Now, is Amanda Ribas that fighter? Let's look at it. Her record in the UFC is 5-2. She's been knocked out twice before in her career, only once in the UFC. She went to a split decision against Caitlin Chukagian. And even though it was a loss, split decision, recently, let me remind you, Chukagian was the flyweight number one flyweight contender in the world at the time. Right now, she's like number 2 or 3 or 4, I forgot. But she got dethroned by Manon Fiorot. And now she's no longer at the top. And ever since I saw this fight, Chukagian versus Ribas. And ever since then, I knew Ribas is good, and Chukagian is not as good as many people would believe her to be. So I knew she would lose again against Manon Fiorot, and she did. And the thing with Ribas is now, even though she's coming off of a loss, I do truly feel like, let me see. I had to look at the thing again. I do truly feel like Amanda Ribas will win by a decision. I got it by decision, not really by knockout or anything crazy like that. I'm going to just keep it at a safe decision. It's possible she pulls off a submission, but I'm pretty sure Tracy Cortez is good on the ground as well. So I'm going to keep my bet as a decision win for Amanda Ribas. I can't believe she's only ranked number 15, honestly. I think this is going to be Ribas' mark to prove herself that she belongs higher up in the division. So now we're going to move on to Darren Elkins versus Jonathan Pierce. Now this is an interesting one because Darren Elkins is a veteran in the UFC. 27-10. That's a common theme you're going to see in this card. A lot of veterans. That's what I love about it. There's a lot of veterans. And it's going to be, since I'm kind of a newer MMA fan, it's going to be nice for me to see, some of the older guys go at it with each other. Even though I've seen them fight already, it's just like, I don't know, it's going to bring a different kind of energy to it. Maybe that's just me though, but excited. 17 wins, 9 losses in the UFC. That's how you can tell. Yep, this guy's had a lot of fights. That's 26 fights in the UFC. Wow. And look at his UFC career. There's a lot of wins, few losses. Big win streak here. How many is that? That's 6 fight winning streak here with a win against Michael Johnson, which is pretty impressive. And then obviously this 4 fight losing streak. Listen, Volkanovski, okay, you can let it slide. Landwehr, you can let it slide. Lamas, I guess. I don't really know too much about Ryan Hall, but all I know is that this losing streak is against like really good opposition. Not like really good opposition, just decent opposition, good opposition. And since then he's gone 3-1 in his last 4. Now he's going up against Jonathan Pierce. And hold on, I'm pretty sure I saw this fight. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw this fight too on the Font Vera card. If that's the actual card. I just remember I saw one of the events on April the 30th. So now we move on to Jonathan Pierce, 13-4. He is 4-1 in the UFC. It's not bad. He got knocked out in his only loss. This was against Joe Lauzon. And even though Joe Lauzon is a veteran, a good fighter, he's way out of his prime. Joe Lauzon, he's a lot older now. I mean, he competed on Tough Season 5. That kind of gives you the idea of how old Joe Lauzon is, because he competed on that season along fighters such as Nate Diaz and Gray Maynard. That's how old we're talking here with Joe Lauzon. How old we're talking here? It was, the coaches were BJ Penn and Jens Pulver. Jens Pulver was the first lightweight champion ever in the UFC's history. That's how old this is. This is when BJ and Jens Pulver were going to fight in the rematch. They were going to have a rematch for that season. So to lose to Joe Lauzon, even though Joe Lauzon is good, he's a veteran. And he's old. But obviously Jonathan Pierce came back with some good wins. Ground and pound win, submission win on the Volkanovski Ortega card. And decent wins here. He was able to pick him off. He was able to pick himself up after the year's layoff. So I think he's kind of shaking it off. But Jonathan Pierce, Darren Elkins. I want to say Jonathan Pierce because I think he's got a good chance. But my computer's frozen, and I can't scroll back down to see Darren Elkins' record to see, okay, if I'm going to regret this decision or not. I don't know, man. I really want to say Darren Elkins. I don't know. I have it written down right here. Who I had winning then, but now I'm kind of rethinking it. I'm thinking it's probably more likely. You know what? The way I see it right now, I have a feeling Jonathan Pierce gets it done by submission in the second round. That's just the image I have in my mind. I hope I don't know. I want to see Darren Elkins perform well. That's all I hope for, is to see Darren Elkins have his moments in this fight, because I don't want it to be forgotten. But this is my prediction. It's kind of an unlikely prediction, even though he is a heavy favorite. Submission. I don't think too many people are betting on a submission here, even though he does have a few submission wins on his record. But I have a feeling he's gonna get some kind of rear naked choke. That's just the image I have in my mind that won't go away. That's just making me uncertain. So I'm just going Jonathan Pierce rear naked choke in the second round. That's what I'm saying. But moving on to a good one. Michael Johnson versus Mark Diakise. I think I'm saying that right. Diakise. Let me pull up there. Oops. I opened up a whole new window on accident. Michael Johnson and Mark Diakise. This video is already 16 minutes long. Just bear with me. We're going to get to the good fights soon enough. We're going to start with the blue corner guy, Mark Diakise, 16-5. He's been in the UFC for some time. 7 wins, 5 losses. He doesn't have the prettiest record. His losses have come against the likes of... What is this? The likes of Dan Hooker, Rafael Fiziev. So, obviously he's faced good opponents. Can't dispute that. And in his last 6, he's gone 4-2. So, make of that what you will. All of his wins in his last 6... all of his wins in his last 6 fights have come by unanimous decision against relatively unknown guys besides Joe Duffy. And now we move on to Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson, obviously not the most reliable fighter, but just look at who this guy has fought. I want you to see just who this guy has gone up against. Oof, my bad. Tony Ferguson, Danny Castillo, Miles Jury, Joe Lazon, my computer froze, Gleison Tibau, I still don't know how to fucking say that name, Melvin Geard, Edson Barbosa, Beneil Dariush, Nate Diaz, Dustin Poirier, Habib, Gaethje, Darren Elkins, Philly, Josh Emmett, Moises, Clay Guida, and most important of all, the GOAT Artem Lobov. I'm playing around. But this guy has fought crazy opposition. Win or lose, this guy has a crazy track record. Just so many names on his resume. Even if he's lost against some of them, that's a lot. You know this guy is always game to fight whatever opponent. He'll fight some of the best guys in the world, like Khabib, Gaethje, and Poirier. He'll win some. He'll lose some. Michael Johnson is a G. Michael Johnson is crazy. His recent losses, Josh Emmett overhand right. That's pretty embarrassing. I can't lie. But it's okay. Josh Emmett's fighting for an interim title now, so you know he's made it. His recent losses, they've come against... decent opposition, UDs, and ankle lock, which, I mean, an ankle lock is tough to get out of. It's a tough submission. He had an impressive win over Alan Patrick. I remember when this one happened, a lot of people were going crazy. Obviously, he lost a split decision to Jamie Mullarkey. It's a split decision. I believe... Hold on, let me look back at this. Yeah. I believe Michael Johnson takes it by decision, obviously. But what kind of decision? I feel like it could be unanimous decision or split decision. You know what? I'm going to say Michael Johnson wins by split decision. That's my prediction. Highly unlikely because split decisions rarely ever happen. But it is very common in the cases of Michael Johnson and Mark Dickey's. So, very fun fight there. Somewhat of a big underdog or a sizable underdog, but I'm a pull off the upset. I'm a hope he pulls off the upset. Now we move on to another interesting fight. Clay Guida versus Hot Sauce Scott Holtzman. Interesting fight we got here on our hands. So many interesting fights. So many veterans. Guida, Johnson, Elkins. I mean, wow. Such an exciting card. But look at this guy's record. 37-22. We're going to get that. We're going to get into that after. We're going to look at Hot Sauce Scott Holtzman. 14-5. He's 7-5 in the UFC. He's got knocked out twice. His 2 knockout losses were his most recent ones, actually. But they came against Beneil Dariush and Mateusz Gamrot. So those are some of the best lightweights on the planet right now. So it's not the worst losses in the world. Especially against a guy like Beneil Dariush, who has got heavy hands. It's not the end of the world. His only other losses have come against Drew Dober, Josh Emmett, and Nick Letts. All in unanimous decision. So realistically, it's not looking that bad for this guy in terms of record. Obviously, the 2-fight losing streak it's something to look at, something to consider, especially since he hasn't fought in well over a year, maybe a year and a half, more than that as well. But I mean, we're going to find out on the night. We're going to look at Clay Guida as well. What is this? What is that? 37-22. How many fights is that? Let me do the math. That's 59 fights. This is 60th fight ever. And 17 wins, 16 losses in the UFC. My God. Just like another Michael Johnson almost. 2 wins by knockout, 5 by decision. 10 by decision, 5 by submission. He's got 2 losses by knockout, 7 losses by submission, 7 by decision. So ignore the grappling matches. Those aren't UFC matches. Those are just grappling exhibition stuffs from like competitions and all that. He hasn't fought since he fought Claudio Puelles, who got a knee bar on him in the first round. Which, no surprise there. I mean, you guys all saw the Dan Hooker fight, the atrocious Dan Hooker fight. It's almost like Claudio Puelles only knows how to do the knee bar. Like the whole move where you do the roll. I don't even know what it's called. You do the roll and then you grab the knee and you try to do it. He tried it like at least 20 times. He couldn't land. He couldn't submit him. And then the fight was just called off. I forgot why. But that was... I mean, it genuinely hurt to watch. But I'm getting too much into that. Yeah, Clay Guida. He's gotten... If we look at his UFC matches, there's the loss to Puelles, win against Leonardo Santos, split decision loss to Mark Madsen, win against Michael Johnson, loss to Bobby Green. It's just very, very back and forth. But there's a lot of names on his record too as well. Gilbert Melendez, there's Dean Thomas, there's Nate Diaz, Diego Sanchez, Kenny Florian, RDA, Pettis, Spencer Henderson, Maynard, Chad Mendes, Bermudez, Thiago Tavares, Brian Ortega, Joe Lazon, Oliveira, BJ Penn, Jim Miller, Bobby Green, Johnson, Quarantillo, Puelles, and now Scott Holtzman. I mean, this guy... The thing that these two have in common, they've both lost against high-level opposition. There's at least that. Because the thing with some of the fights, or most of the fights, between the veteran and the not-so-veteran, the veteran has faced tough opposition from some of the top guys at the time. And they're going up against people who they don't really have that same experience. The thing with Guida and Holtzman, they both kind of have that thing about themselves that they've both fought, lost, and learned from fights against top level guys. Obviously, Clay Guida's fought the more tough opponents. And keeping all of this in mind, who do I think is going to win? I've got Clay Guida by unanimous decision. And as a slight betting underdog, and having it in mind that he could very well lose this fight either way, I'm rooting for Clay Guida, trying to get the win on his 60th fight ever. Let's go. You got this. I'm rooting for the veteran. Now, Angela Hill versus Emily Ducote. I think it's Ducote. Angela Hill versus Emily Ducote. Angela Hill's got a very nice haircut, if I do say so myself. Angela Overkill Hill. That's a badass name, I can't lie. 14-12, not the best record overall, and definitely not the best record in the UFC. 9 wins and 12 losses. Never been knocked out, surprisingly. Which, I mean, good for you. And we look at Angela Hill's record. You see a lot of, Andrade, Nina Nunes, Moroz, Gioni and Yan, Claudia Gadella, Michelle Waterson Gomez, Tisha Torres, Lemos. I mean, there's a lot of top-level opposition here. So you can kind of see where those losses are starting to come from. And obviously, we look at their last 6 fights. They've only won 2 of them by unanimous decision as well. So it's a bit worrying, obviously. But we look at the losses. They've also been unanimous decisions. Oh, wait, this is a grappling match. I was looking at that wrong. Okay, so then we include this one as well. So the losses against some of the more top well-known guys or people like Waterson Gomez or like Lemos, they've been split decisions. So Angela Hill doesn't lose these fights too badly, which means they do likely have a chance. Plus, aren't they ranked? Let me look. They're still ranked number 12. Come on now. But they're going against someone like Emily Ducote, 12-6. The records, it makes sense why they're fighting. No offense. We look at the UFC. They're 1-0 in the UFC right now. Good on them, honestly. But look at their last 4. It looks like many wins. There's been a knockout, doctor stoppage, unanimous decision on a UFC on ABC card. Oh, I remember this one. I watched this one when I was making something. I remember. Summertime, fun time. This one was in July, and now they're fighting again in December, which is nice. And we look at Angela Hill's fights this year. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5. No, 5. 5 fights in the span of a year. Or actually, no, 4 fights, not including the grappling. The grappling match keeps throwing me off, but they lost the grappling match too, so that kind of sucks either way. But yeah, if I'm just being honest, I think Ducote takes it. I think Ducote takes it by decision, unanimous decision. That's what I got right now. So we move up to the featured prelim bout. This video is long as hell. It's only 30 minutes, actually. That'll be way longer. It's going to be longer. But Nico Price versus Philip Rowe. Another very interesting fight that we're going to look at here. My God, there's a lot of fights we got to look at. Feature prelim. Nico Price versus Philip Rowe. Let's look at Philip Rowe first. 9-3. 2-1 in the UFC. And we got to ignore the grappling matches, obviously. We're going to look at The Shabazi win, very impressive. 16 seconds to round number 3. Nice. He lost to Gabe Green unanimous decision. Since then, he's been on a 2-fight winning streak. By punches in the second round, it looks like that's kind of the common trend here. He hasn't fought since February, so it's going to be interesting to see how he holds up in this fight. But we talk about hasn't fought since February. How about how hasn't fought in 13? No. At the time of the fight, it'll be 14 months. His fight against Alex Oliveira by unanimous decision. They won. Oliveira has since been cut from the UFC. Their previous fights have been unanimous decision loss to Michelle Pereira. No contest to Donald Cerrone. Lost to Vicente Luque, which, I mean, at this time, Vicente Luque was a killer. So, I mean, it happens. Beat James Vick first round knockout, which, I mean, it shouldn't have been any other way. Lost to Jeff Neal, but Jeff Neal is also a killer. Beat Tim Means by knockout in the first round, which is impressive. Beat Randy Brown. Lost to this guy in the first round 4 years ago, so it's not too bad. But obviously coming back in after 14 months of not fighting, it's going to be tough to adjust. But I think Philip Rowe is going to be the right opponent to kind of adjust to that. Because the thing you see in the UFC often is sometimes they'll give the really hard fights to the guys who are just coming back. So I'd appreciate the UFC for going maybe a bit easier on Nico Price. Who do I got winning? I'm going to take Nico Price by decision. Even though I'm not super sure about that pick, I'm rooting for Nico Price either way, so I'm happy with my pick right now. We move into the main card. Eric Anders versus Kyle Daukaus. If I'm being honest, I don't know too much about these guys. I've heard some stuff about Kyle Daukaus. We're going to go over him first since he's in the blue corner. He's 2-3 in the UFC with 1 no contest. He got knocked out once. It was in his last fight against Roman Dolidze, which Dolidze is a killer. So we're not going to think about that loss too much. Obviously, it's going to stick in your head, so it might be an issue. But let's look at the wins. Against Jamie Pickett, no contest against Kevin Holland, who is featuring this bout. Lost to Phil Hawes, whom of which Roman Dolidze brutalized. Lost to Brendan Allen. Beat Dustin, because I'm not going to say his last name. But 11-3 in his pro MMA record, 2-3 in the UFC. Not too much to say about that. Your boy Eric Anders, 14-7. 6-7 in the UFC. Got knocked out once. It was in his last fight against Andre Petroski, who's also coming off of a win right now. He's on a 3-fight losing streak, which is pretty bad. Split decision in an armbar. One of them was against Andre Muniz, who's number 10 right now. It's a top 10 middleweight. So, I mean, it is what it is. Came out with 1 win at least. Oh, wait, no. The Petroski win was a grappling match. Okay, he's coming off of a loss against Jun-Young Park by a split decision. It's not too bad. So forget anything I said about the Petroski win or loss. He's lost against Muniz. He lost against Yoko, who's been cut from the UFC since. He beat Gerald Meerschaert, split decision. It's not bad. He got a knockout here. Lost to Khalil Roundtree and Elias Theodorou and Thiago Santos, some bigger names. He lost to Lyoto Machida in his 11th ever fight. Split decision though, so impressive enough, I gotta say. But 2 very weird resumes. Oof, my bad. But I feel like they're very much meant to fight for each other. Who do I think is gonna win? I kind of made up my mind a little bit ago of who I thought was gonna win. I'm gonna take an interesting bet. I'll take Daukaus by submission in the first round. I don't think I've ever bet for a submission on this channel. I haven't yet. This is going to be my first submission bet, and it's going to be in the first round. So, obviously, I'm taking a gamble there. Even though he's the favorite, I am taking a gamble with the submission win because he's only gotten 1 submission win recently. That was in February of this year. So I mean, we'll see. Let's see if maybe I get that on point. But now we're gonna move on to an interesting fight. Jack the Joker Hermansson, ranked number 8 at middleweight, versus an unranked. this this nickname is just so funny to me. The Caucasian. I don't know, dude. A Caucasian is just a white guy. Like, bro's nickname is the white guy. I don't know. I find that funny. But Roman Dolidze, bro, stone cold killer. Oh my God, I can't stress this enough. The Phil Hawes fight, the Kyle Dawkins fight. Jesus. This guy brutalized his opponents. These are both fights came this year. The Phil Hawes fight came a month ago. Just 2 days more than a month ago. I mean, my God. And I can't stress this enough. Just so insane with this guy. I mean, I kind of understand after Derek Brunson pulls out, and I guess it's the only guy available, you go for this guy, man. That's the guy that deserves the shot to enter the rankings. But will Jack Hermansson be able to withstand the storm? Okay, 10 wins, 5 losses in the UFC, 2 losses by knockout. He's coming off of a win against Chris Curtis. I think this was UFC London. Yeah, because he was supposed to fight Darren Till, and then Darren Till pulled out. So now he was fighting Chris Curtis, won by unanimous decision. Before that, it was a split decision loss to Sean Strickland. And before that, he got a impressive win against Edmund Shabazian, who was coming off of a hype train. So he's fought tough opposition in Vittori, Gastelum, Cannonier, Jacare, Michart, Thiago Santos as well. So Jack Hermansson's got that experience in those opponents. So does Roman Dolidze have what it takes to knock him out? Or to even beat him by any way? Any means necessary. And honestly, I don't know if he's got just that experience yet. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it yet at this point in his career. Maybe give him a few more months and he's got more of a chance. Maybe he wins. But I don't know. The experience of Jack Hermansson, he's only 34. He's not too old yet. He's 34 too, actually. But I don't know. In my opinion, I think Jack Hermansson likely gets it done by decision, but not by an easy decision. Roman Dolidze is going to bring it to him for sure. It's going to be tough for Jack Hermansson probably near the start, but as it goes on, Hermansson is going to adjust because that's what the more experienced fighter usually does. Now. This fight is insane. Insane. Like, why is this fight happening on the prelims of a fight night? It's kind of when Robert Whittaker and Vittori were fighting on the prelims of a fight night. It's like, what are you doing on the prelims? I mean, this could be a main event in itself. And man. It's just like, what a crazy matchup. And I love Tai Tuivasa. This guy got me in love with the sport. And I'm genuinely afraid for him here. Tai Tuivasa, he'll overcome any adversity. He's got crazy power in his hands. He can knock anyone out. He could win this fight. He could finish this fight. But he's coming off of a loss so early. It's exactly 3 months after getting knocked out by Cyril Gane. Getting hurt badly in that fight. Hurt to the body, and then getting knocked out after that as well. It's a tiring fight. It takes time to recover from that. Is Tai Tuivasa going to be the same fighter who went up against Derek Lewis or Cyril Gane or Sakai or Greg Hardy? Sergey Pavlovich. Oh Oh my lord. Sergey Pavlovich. 4 wins, 1 loss. The 1 loss came by knockout. Since then, he's went on a 4-fight winning streak in the UFC and in his career. All first round knockouts. One of them even against Derek Lewis. Early stoppage. Still impressive. Went from 11th to 5th. But if you look before this, round one. First round. Punches, punch, knockouts, knee. Like, oh my God. This guy is a killer. There's so many killers on this card, and that's why I'm just so excited to see it. But bro, this is a tough fight. I mean, honestly, you look at Tai Tuivasa, how do you go from fighting Greg Hardy and Augusto Sakai to fighting Derek Lewis, Cyril Gane, and Sergey Pavlovich in 1 year? How does that happen? I mean, my God, these two are crazy. And I can't stress this. I just can't stress this enough. How crazy these guys are. But I'm rambling. And I wanted to talk about something. Here's his 1 loss. In 2018 against Alistair Overeem. First round loss by ground and pound. Knockout. That was Alistair Overeem. And in 2018, he wasn't in his prime, really. If I remember correctly, he was past his prime in 2018. And a guy like Sergey Pavlovich with crazy knockout power wasn't able to knock out a guy like Alistair Overeem, who doesn't have the best chin. Wasn't able to knock him out. Gets knocked out by him. Now look at a guy like Tai Tuivasa. Powerful striker. So strong. But he doesn't have a glass chin. And he has excellent recovery, very good endurance, and insane motivation and drive and heart. It's not impossible for Tai Tuivasa to win this fight. It's also very not impossible for him to lose. That's why he's the betting underdog here. Because people start to look at Sergey Pavlovich, they actually do their research on him, and they realize, oh shit. Maybe I'll make a safe bet for my money. But nah. Tai Tuivasa is my fucking guy. I got him winning by first round knockout. I'm not gonna say anything more. I don't need to say no more. He's my guy. And I'm gonna stick by my guy, obviously. Come on now. Featured bout. Match now versus Matheus Nicolau. Now these two just got like different variations of my name. Like my name is Matt. My full name is Matthew. But I call myself Matt. All my friends call me Matt. Everybody calls me Matt. My friends, I have this one friend that jokingly calls me Matthias sometimes too. So this is just like the battle of me. They weigh like the same as me as well, so it's just interesting. Let's look at Nicolau. 6-1 in the UFC. His only loss was a knockout to Dustin Ortiz. It was in 2018 though. By a head kick. So I don't know. He's got to have improved a lot since then. He's gone against a lot of opposition. David Dvorak, Tim Elliott, Manel Cape. Impressive wins. Split decision, unanimous decision. Not super crazy wins, but 18-2-1, it's an impressive record. Got to admit. Now let's look at match now. Oh my lord. Danger match now. Let's go. 6-5 in the UFC. Not good. He's been knocked out 3 times. He's coming off of a crazy comeback win against Sumar Darji. He won by triangle choke. He was losing that fight badly. Comes back. He was on his back. Then he comes back, gets on top. Bloodies up Sumar Darji's face. There was blood all over the mat, all over the canvas. Comes back to get that triangle choke win. Sumar Darji was out. What a warrior for not tapping, but my lord, those two went at it. But when you look at him fighting the higher level opposition, like Brandon Royval, like Pantoja, like Rob Font, even though we're not going to count the Rob Font fight. That was in 2016. We're not going to look at that too much. But like Brandon Royval, like Pantoja, you know, knockout, first round. Submission loss, first round. You know, it's not the best look. And who knows, maybe he's somewhat different after this Sumer Darji win. Because, I don't know, maybe this guillotine lost in the first round. It doesn't do too much damage to him. But 2 months later to come back and then have that kind of performance is, bro. All of these fighters on this card, and I can't stop saying this, but jeez, we're in for a night. We're in for a night. Wow. It's going to be one to remember. But yeah, I love Matt Schnell. I fell in love with him after the Sumer Darji win. I think just what an insane comeback. But him getting knocked out frequently, or not frequently, but like it's happened. You know, over the overhand right, the ground and pound, and the punches. Even though these losses they were kind of long ago, so maybe he's changed since then. But split decision to then lose a unanimous to then lose by guillotine. It's the Sumer Darji one that's keeping him alive right now. And even though I love Matt Schnell and I do really want him to win this fight, you just can't dispute the records. You really can't dispute the records. You could, but it's hard. I've got Nicolau by unanimous decision, split decision, whatever it may be. But Matt Schnell, it's not impossible for him to win this fight. It's not impossible. And I want him to win this fight. I truly hope he wins this fight, even though I'm not putting my bet on him right now. I hope Matt Schnell takes it. But I have money on Matheus Nicolau. Not actual money, just you know what I mean. RDA versus Brian Barberena. What is this fight? What is going on here? Someone please explain to me why the number 7 ranked lightweight contender moving up to welterweight to go up against Brian Barberena. And look here. I love Brian Barberena. Because he's Colombian, like me. Brian Barberena, I'm going to just tell you off the bat. If he's Colombian, I want him to win the fight. Simple as that. But we got to look at who I think will win the fight. So let's look at their records. UFC record, 20 wins, 12 losses, 3 losses by knockout. Most recently was the loss to Rafael Fiziev in the 5th round. Brutal knockout. Wasn't out completely cold, but was out pretty badly. Before that, he won against Renato Moicano. Before that, he beat Paul Felder, split decision. You look at some of these wins and some of these losses, like, okay, he's not doing too bad, especially for a guy that's pushing 40. Let's look at Brian Bam Bam Barberena. 18-8. In the UFC, he's 9-6. He's been knocked out twice. It's not looking good so far. Obviously, he got knocked out by Vicente Luque. He got knocked out by Randy Brown. He's gone up against really good opposition in Sage Northcutt, Colby Covington, Leon Edwards, Jake Ellenberger, Luque, Brown, Ivy, Weeks, Brown again, and Lawler. And he's put on some impressive performances in most of these fights, especially in the Leon Edwards fight. He almost knocked him out. But we got to look at these fights, these more recent fights. His recent winning streak. Unanimous decision win, split decision win, which doesn't look good, but it's against Mac Brown, who's another stone cold killer. And a knockout win against Robbie Lawler in the stacked UFC 276 Adesanya card. And it was in July. This is not too long ago. So, who do I think is going to win? Or who do I want to win? Barberena. Who do I think is going to win? Barberena. Because look. Here's the thing. Brian Barberena, I've got all the hope in the world for him. Even though it just doesn't look that good for him here, I know he's got it in him, bro. Somewhere. He just gotta keep it going. Whatever he's got going good for him right now, just keep that up, bro. Para Colombia, bro. Julio Arce, he lost his fight, man. It was a close UD, but still doesn't take away from the fact that he lost the fight. If Brian Barberena manages to beat number 7 lightweight, RDA, former champion, just imagine, bro. Just think about it. Crazy. But my thought process here is like, if you're losing to Michael Chiesa by UD, and if you're going split decisions with Paul Felder, or UDs with Renato Moicano, who took the fight on like 4 days' notice, I'm not saying those are like bad wins. I'm not trying to discredit him or anything. I'm just saying I think Barberena has a very decent chance of winning this fight. It's likely gonna be a decision, probably. Well, no, if it's a decision, it's probably gonna go to RDA. Because if it's close, then they're just gonna give it to RDA. It had to be a dominant decision, but I'm gonna go right now. Barberena knockout or technical knockout in the second round. Finally, this video is an hour long. I've been talking for an hour straight. Could you believe that? I can't believe that myself. Stephen Thompson versus Kevin Holland. Oh, wow. I mean, I already went over this fight kind of in my video where I talk about the loser might retire. I think right now it just comes to who wants it more. And I haven't, at the time of this recording, I haven't posted the video yet, but I made another video about Stephen Thompson. And at the time you guys see this, I could just talk about it right now because it'll be out. Stephen Thompson wants another shot at the title. Kevin Holland wants to come back. Whoever loses this fight is going to retire. 11-6-1 in the UFC. He's got knocked out only once. It was Anthony Pettis, yeah. Anthony Pettis. He's gone 2-4 in his last 6. They're all against high level opposition. Hasn't taken too much damage in his recent fights. He hasn't been active in a year. He hasn't fought in a year. He's got a good chance of beating Kevin Holland. But the hiatus it's there. Kevin Holland, 10-5 in the UFC, won no contest. Never been knocked out in the UFC. Coming off of the Hamzat loss, obviously. Retired. Unretired. He is 1, 2, 3, 4. He's won 2 of his last 6. He's 2-3 with 1 no contest in his last 6. Powerful. Hits very hard. And I've just completely run out of energy to even keep talking about this. No, I bet nobody's even watching up to this point. But I'm going to just get it out of the way. I don't think Stephen Thompson comes back. I think he loses, but I don't know if he retires on the day. He might retire a few weeks after, a few days after. He might retire in his next fight. Just whoever loses this fight determines who will retire soon enough. And I don't think that'll be Kevin Holland. I think it's unlikely that it's not Stephen Thompson. And listen, I really like both of these guys. Everybody's been saying it, and I'm saying it now. Like, maybe there's a way that they both could win, because I don't really want to see either of them lose. But it's gotta happen. One of these guys gotta go. They both took the fight for a reason. And who do I think is gonna win and how? I think Kevin Holland takes it by KO or TKO. I'll say in the third round. And I would elaborate even further, but my God, I've talked enough. 58 minutes, bro. This is going to be such a fun fucking fight. I can't wait for it. And I'm going to take a nap because what a long video. But can't wait. I can't wait. I leave for Orlando tomorrow. Fights on Saturday. Let's go.